Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV's recap show for Shades of Blue, episode number 13, the finale titled One Last Lie. Stay tuned for when we give you our thoughts, predictions, and recap the show.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
No lie, no lie, no lie, yeah, yeah.
I don't know the song.
No lie, no lie, yeah,
You don't know this song?
No, but it's fitting. So I must say, for the episode titled One Last Lie, Harlee, Jennifer Lopez, she's trying to spin one last lie to get herself out of a little trouble. But we're about to get into the episode. I'm your host, Brandon Marlo. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BAMARLO. I'm so happy to be joining you for this one last episode for the season. I am joined by my two beautiful co-hosts, Miaira Jennings.
Thank you, Brandon.
You're welcome.
Looking so lovely today.
Thank you.
I'm Miaira Jennings, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings.
Isn't she an elegant goddess?
Oh my God.
beautiful.
I'm Samantha Benitz.
I'm Samantha Benitz. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz.
And we are obviously missing the one and only Erica,
One and
Jaye Green. So I'm going to give her
On all
social.
social media.
You can follow her on all social media, Erica, Jaye Green. Thank you so much for tuning in to this last episode. I can't believe the season's already over.
Wow, the
That
finale.
is crazy. The
Yeah.
finale was so good. And you always hope that the last episode that they kind of give you enough to make the whole
Yes.
season worthwhile, because there were a couple episodes that were,
A little lackluster.
yes.
For sure.
A little
Linklater.
Oh my God, get out of my head. But they were. But I think, as we really got going, and then this finale, it was really good. And I think
It
they're setting up the next season to be even better.
Yes.
So before we get into this episode, let's recap kind of last episode and maybe talk a little bit about where we've come in the season. So let's
for
go,
sure.
Miaira.
Well, last week we started off where Waz and Harley take the money from the scene and they get in a stolen vehicle to go, figure out their next move, but they're thrown completely off guard when another car runs into them and steals the money. So their whole plan is totally thrown off path. Meanwhile, Stahl takes Loman in for questioning when he thinks he might be involved with this whole operation, but my boy Loman did not snitch, so shout out to Loman.
He didn't.
He did not. Thank you very much. But it's later revealed that Harley actually spoke to Loman before he even went into the feds and told him, listen, Donnie knows the truth about the shooting, and you have to lie about what you saw, or else you're going down with us. So he had something at stake there as well. Also, Linda takes Christina to a hotel after seeing a suspicious car circling the block. And later on, Christina actually turns to Miguel to, reconnect because she doesn't trust her mom anymore. So that's not a good move on Christina's part.
And let's make sure everyone knows Linda is Waz's wife.
Right.
So we've not seen very much of her this season,
yeah.
but
Thank you for that.
in case you're thinking she's one of the crew.
Yes, in case you forgot, Linda's Waz's wife, right. So she takes Christina, and Christina goes to Miguel, which is a bad move, which we'll see why tonight. Joaquin actually admits to killing the club owner, and he has a heart-to-heart with Waz before he dies in the van from his gunshot wound. Loman is released, and he goes back to the crime scene where he breaks down in tears, and he ends up calling the captain, and we don't know why yet, so that was a big point for tonight. And finally, it is revealed that the junkie / ex-cop / Harley's friend, Caddy, was the one who stole the money during the car crash and was keeping it in safekeeping for Harley later on, which I believe I predicted a few weeks ago. So he was actually behind it. He took the money, and now Harley is in control. She has the money, and she's ready to make her next move.
It was a full episode last week.
It
and
was.
This one, I will say, they did really well, because I've critiqued the writing in some parts of the show. They really tied up a lot of loose ends.
Very good denouement in here.
There was a few that I felt like, we didn't quite get enough of for this episode, but it seems like we're probably going to start off next season exactly where we left off with this season. So
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do a lapse in time at all, just based on the information that they gave us. So I'm really excited. We've been excited about this all season, and all season something that was really important to us was to talk about the comments on YouTube and Twitter and people engaging with us. And two of them, there weren't very many from the last episode that I felt like were worth a comment, because there weren't very many on there. But two I found were not particular to the episode, but more to us. So I thought that for the last episode, we would do those. So let's get into some comments from YouTube.
Yes, a little shout out to our commenters. Tara K, she's given us a little correction, which we very much appreciate. She said, regarding the Tomorrow Show, It's Farrah Abraham, which was one of the guests, to clarify, not Abram. So now you know, people. And
the more you know. Thank you
Yes.
so much for clarifying who she is
Teen
and why we
mom.
need to know that.
Yes.
I love a correction. God bless a Ray Liotta, not Lolita.
Lolita.
I understand
classic.
where that correction needed to be made. However, Abrams, Abrahams, Abadoo, I don't care what her
Tomato,
last name
tomato,
is.
blah, blah.
Right, like who is she and why is she relevant to me or the show? Why we even talked about her, I don't know. But thank
Just
you
a
so
little
much.
reference.
I'll rest easy tonight because of that correction.
Yes,
Thank
get
you.
some sleep now.
Now we know. And a little something more we should know. Donna Vey let us know. Erica, your blouse, which this was a little blue number she gave us last week on the
Yes,
end
I
of the
saw
table,
that
looking
thing.
all types of fierce. Your blouse is giving me eternal, everlasting life. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Miss Erica J.
She looked so good.
Did she not?
Yes, and it was
amazing.
You couldn't tell because we were sitting down, but it was a
It was
jumper.
a jumper, yes.
Yeah.
I
It
saw her
was-
picture on Snapchat.
Oh my god, her silhouette.
obsessed.
She looks so good. And actually, if you guys don't follow her on Snapchat,
Erica J. Green.
is it Erica J. Green?
J.A.Y.E.
J-A-Y-E. You need to because she gives you a lot of different looks.
Yeah.
She gives
Yes,
you a
she
lot of
does.
different hair,
Yes.
outfits,
Variety.
settings. She spends a lot of time in the gym.
Yes.
Yes. And I even saw another comment complimenting her on her glowing skin.
Yes.
So you're
Right.
killing it, girl.
People
We missed
love
it.
you, Erica
Yes,
J.A.Y.E.
she's definitely a fashionista for sure, so follow her.
Apparently, people didn't tune in to where I called a common courtesy compliments. So you can feel free to leave those for all of us, too.
Right, yeah. Don't
Erica
you
has
love
two
Brandon's
now.
hat today?
Thank you.
She did also mention that we all looked beautiful, though.
Oh, great.
So we
I'll go
got-
back
I
and
wasn't
highlight that
there,
one.
so
No, where
Beautiful
were you
and
last
sweet.
week?
I was in Louisiana for Easter, visiting
Okay.
my family.
Well, as exciting as we all are, we better get into the episode because we're
Yeah.
really short on time today. Okay, so getting into it, the first scene I think was really good. It cuts into Harley counting the money through the checkers, the songs playing. She is Jenny from the
Yes.
block.
Jenny from the block made an appearance.
I like to think that's how she counts
So
all her
gangsta.
millions in her house. Like she sleeps on it.
I know.
So she gets into her money. We kind of see her teeing herself up to what she's going to try and do to
Right.
save her crew, to get the immunity, how she's going to use the money. But really one of the biggest things from the episode, and because we're short on time, we're going to kind of jump around a little bit, but Loman and Donnie. As we've seen
Wow.
all season, we're waiting for Loman to live his life, and he does it in this episode. He's still trying. We see him still trying to be the good guy with the moral compass pointing him in the right direction. So he's still trying to figure out what is really happening with the crew.
Of course.
At this point, we see him find Donnie Pomp coming out of Waz's house, where he says, of course, poor Loman, that fool is never
Wrong
told the
place,
truth.
wrong time, every time.
every time.
So, of
he
course-
needs to find a different career.
Donnie does wrong by him and tells him, "No, I'm not here to set them up. I'm here to try and like figure out what's going on." And then they go inside and we see Donnie fiddling around in a drawer with Waz's marine memorabilia, where he pulls out a gun and tries to shoot Loman. Loman lost his life, so he doesn't. Loman lives, and
Hashtag Loman
As you
lives.
knew.
Yes, we made it through season 1, people.
but Donnie didn't live.
I know.
Donnie lost his life
Wow.
thanks to Loman, and this one was. It's kind of interesting to see the progression, and they did it very strategically. Have Loman kill someone in the first episode, have him kill someone in the last episode,
Yeah.
because then
Right.
you can see that
The
mental
progression.
progression of
Yeah.
how he feels about things. Because he didn't have any reservations about killing poor old Donnie, did he?
Nope, not at all.
Were you
And
guys
now-
shocked?
I was not shocked. I have to say, though, I was nervous before that because I thought he was actually going to die, and then I'd have to come and hear from you guys how Loman died, and I was
Bye.
wrong, but I was right. So anyway, I was, it was interesting to see. Now I think Loman is fully on the crew side.
Yeah.
I think his mindset is completely changed from the beginning of the season, and we see him, discussing with Waz, well, maybe I should tell the truth. How are we going to spin this? But he ends up saying, the truth lies in the paperwork.
Yep.
So it's not going to be up to him. And at the end of the day, these internal affairs people are going to take Donnie's side most likely because they don't know the whole story, and Loman's going to go down. So now he's like, nope, not happening. We're going to turn this around.
Yep.
We're going to get this together. And that's what I'm doing now.
Sam, do you think that's going to change when he finds out who all's been lying to him? Because up until this point, I don't think he even knows that
No.
Harley wasn't being truthful.
Right.
So do you think all the decisions he's made at this point will change in season 2?
I'm thinking so, just because he even went in with the intention to check out what Donnie wanted him to see, you know, when he enters the house. So as soon as he became violent with him, he realized, oh, okay, there's nothing for me to see here, and I'm probably on the right side then of the fence. And so the fact that he attacks Donnie, he seemed kind of helpless at the end, like he was shivering with blood all over his hands. So I'm like, I don't know. I think his conscience will definitely eat away at him. We saw the way how the first murder even affected him, and that wasn't even his fault. So imagine when he actually has blood on his hands, how he's going to react. So I do think that we're going to see a lot more from Loman come season 2.
Right, okay, and now this is where Waz comes into play, because Waz shows up and finds Loman in Donnie's dead body. So they start discussing, you know, just like we did in the beginning, we're going to set you up to not take the fall for this if this is what you want. It's your play, it's your dead body. To me, that was just so silly. But it's kind of, what do you want to do with this situation? Because it's not a good one, but now you've gone through it. And now you're integrated into our crew.
Yeah, it's like a rite of passage for these people over here.
Right, it is like a gang. So this is where you start to kind of feel more for Waz. And as these last few episodes have progressed, you see him really staking claim in these people. It seemed at first kind of like they were pawns to him, but now you really see he cares for their well-being and where they're going and how they feel. So we see him help get rid of Donnie's body, because Loman lost his cool and now needs to figure out what he's going to do. So they take the body. Where do they take it? This was, I really liked.
Raul's little vacation.
Little lair.
They got rid of Raul.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we see them get rid of Donnie's body. And that's where Waz, I felt like in the episode, you start to see him, he knows something's going on. He's starting to put 2 and 2 together. And now he's kind of setting everyone else up for what the end of the episode is going to bring us. And in the midst of kind of these complicated relationships, now we have Stahl and Molly. And as we saw last week, I want so badly to like Stahl. And that one episode I did when he was like...
You did, that's right.
He was like authoritative.
When he kissed Harley.
Trying to be suave.
Right. No, I was into that. But then it was just like too much. It's like when 50 Shades puts that like extended scene in that you're like... It was
I've
cute,
seen enough.
but now I'm over
overloaded.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
oversaturated.
Oh my God.
So, what did you see that coming? Because there was some like unrequited like romance or love thing happening there.
A little bit. I was like, wow, Molly Chen is letting loose with a going guns a blazing tonight.
Yeah.
So she definitely went in there with the intention of giving Stahl all of this. For what? I'm like, why did you end up doing that and realizing that you wouldn't sacrifice your career? Because he's kind of watched you make all these missteps and step on his toes a few times by going around and kind of getting Miguel out and doing these other things that necessarily Stahl wouldn't approve of. So now that he could flip the scenario on her and catch her where she's vulnerable, then boom, that's what's going to happen. And the fact that he even went to Baker and got rid of her and kind of just threatened her and said, well, if you try to say anything at this point, it's going to look like you who's the liar. Then you can just see Stahl's true colors. So I'm happy that Harley went a different way.
I know. Well, you know what? I actually felt like this might have been an underlying like feeling from Molly, because I don't know why, but I always felt like she could sense Stahl's feelings towards Harley, and maybe she had a little bit of jealousy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can see
She was
that.
feeling a little bit, so maybe she blamed it on the alcohol that night and went ahead and went for it, and it was the wrong decision, as we saw. But I don't know. I feel bad. I hope Molly can make a comeback, because I actually liked her. I thought she was headstrong and she made good decisions.
Molly is not going down that ship.
Yeah.
Okay, because she was about to take the blame for everything, right? For the operation going wrong. Is that what Stahl was doing?
I think the reason it started to unravel, I think that's what he was placing her as a reason that it's
like
not been a very smooth,
right.
Okay.
But what I do like about Molly Chen, I don't like that Stahl plays everyone, and that's something obviously we've gotten into with Harley, but I do like that Molly has been more or less in the right areas where Stahl has kind of been a little corrupt, I guess you would say, with how he's handled things with Harley, and with the exception of Miguel, which even that, she's not really doing it wrong. The only thing is maybe going above
Over
his head
yeah.
to get him out, but really he is incarcerated for the wrong reason. So everything we've seen Molly do has been
justified.
Yeah.
So to see where she'll go in the next season, she's absolutely not just going to be brushed aside.
Yeah, going down without a fight.
No, because we see a little bit more happening with Stahl that in this episode. So let's go ahead and get into that. So we see that Miguel is out, thanks to Molly Chen, good old Molly Chen. Thank you, girl. And then, so Miguel and Christina have had this bond over these last few episodes, getting to know each other. We see Christina integrating into Miguel's family with his mom, out grocery shopping. Then Harley finds out that she has left the hotel from Linda. Linda gives her a call and says, I don't know where she is. Harley finds her, takes her away, puts Miguel in handcuffs. It's a big to-do in the middle of the street. And while all this is happening, that's when Molly and Stahl are kind of having their little sit-down powwow about Gail more or less addressing the reason why everything has kind of gone the way it's going. And in this moment, who is by Harley's side?
Nava.
ADA Nava, God bless him.
He's got her back, though. It's kind of cute. I feel like she did give him a little bit of a warning in the beginning, though, saying, don't get caught up with me and don't catch feelings. But, of course, he cannot deny Harley.
Yeah, I think he's still kind of sleeping with one eye open, though.
Yeah.
'Cause we saw him question
As
her.
he should.
Well, right. I saw him question, we see him questioning her about the money and he doesn't believe her. And so I think he might still be a little skeptical moving forward, but it's cute to see that he does have her back.
I'm waiting to see what kind of interactions they have, because I really hope in season 2 we see them together and him helping her in certain ways. And I just think that it'd be a really good relationship to have. It's been pretty consistent throughout the season. Now, I just want to get into this so bad because we see this relationship building between Christina and Christina's grandmother, and it's a very interesting, Harley gives him $200,000 to go away, and he shows back up. And not only does he show up kind of in a different way than we would have anticipated, him talking to Harley, we see him show up to her house unannounced, breaking and entering more or less. And when Antonio Jaramillo was here, he said that the relationship, he thinks the intent is always good, that from this point, but Antonio, fool, you did not tell us that he was going to get handsy with her.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't expect that.
No, and I'm telling you, Antonio is one of the best actors on the show.
He's
And
great.
I'm not just saying that because he was in here. I really do think out of everyone on there, he's had kind of smaller roles and other things, and people may not be able to place him. But the fact that he acted amongst that group and did such, was so captivating. And you hated him when he was on screen.
In a prominent scene, too, like that, so.
I wish he would stick around, and I'm sorry that we saw, and spoiler alert for anyone watching.
Wow.
Harley kills him, breaks his neck,
Ooh,
after hitting her and forcing himself on her. So it was just very intense when all that was happening. And that's how you know it's a good actor. When you hate watching them on screen if they're playing a bad guy, you're like, oh my God. And having him in here and be so funny and so kind and,
He's a great guy.
generous with, willing to joke around. I really hope that we get to see either flashbacks of him or something for the next season.
I hope so too. He was one of my favorites. And not only just being able to hate him when he was on screen, but also he drew so much sympathy, especially from me in the beginning when I'm thinking, oh, maybe he did change and he does want to do right by Christina and Harley. And so we see this diverse, different sides of his character. And I really love to see the progression of that. And I just, it's crazy that it ended the way it did, but I'm so glad that they wrote it that way because it was awesome to see him act those different facets of one character.
Yeah, especially when he said the whole, I've been locked away for 10 years, building up until this very moment. You could just kind of see that all of his good intentions were kind of overshadowed by his actions in the moment, and seeing that he was capable of these things, it kind of makes the viewer go back and forth with whether he does have good intentions entirely or what is really overcoming him. Maybe it's just his demons coming out once again. So, but this does kind of make Harley look a little bit more truthful, which is not very in her character in this show.
That's true.
Well, that he's not a good man.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's certain things on TV I really hate. I hate anything with forced intercourse or rape. I just
over the top.
Right. I just think they use it for this very
salacious value.
Right. Gratuitous. It's just gross. So when she did it, obviously you felt less for him, but I really wish they would have wrote him in a different way to help her, because he saw the footage, he was kind of there in a very difficult time for her. He could have come in to help her in a certain way. They may have been able to use him as the place for, the drug addict former cop who's now her kind of confidant. That would have been a really good place for Miguel to keep him around.
And she gave him money that they could have used towards Christina, building a new life for her. So because
now this character that helped Harley, I can't see him sticking around to be a big player in the next season. But Miguel, on the other hand, they kind of set him up to be a much bigger character than he was. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more from that. But we see a lot with Waz happening too. So up until this point, we have Harley still trying to figure out how to get immunity. We have Christina now with her aunt. Harley sent her away, says, I can't keep an eye on you and try and deal with all this. I'm not the person you think I am, but I'm the person you wish I was. And then we kind of see the rest of the crew not make very much of an appearance this episode. Tess, Tufo, Espada, kind of MIA.
Right.
But this last scene and everything that's going on with Waz and Harley, very emotional and very well done. I thought the editing was very good and the acting was amazing. So if you haven't watched the episode tonight, because we literally taped this right after we watched the episode. So if you haven't watched it, this is the big spoiler. So Waz gives himself up. And we don't actually see him taken into custody yet, but we do see Harley and Waz on the phone discussing the whole situation. So kind of going over what's transpired for our whole season, which for them is only a few weeks. Apparently they make that comment to Loman that he's only been part of the crew for a few weeks. So time has passed much shorter on the show than what we see. And he knows that she's the mole. I was really shocked by that when he says that he realized it, but didn't realize it until, what would have been our last episode.
Right, because she tried to confess, but I felt like she didn't really tell him the full truth until it was kind of discovered in the last final moment when he's sitting there by the gates with this load of cash. And you can just see he's got tears welling up in his eyes, and he really wants to look out for Christina. So that made me respect him out of all this, demise that I've seen him cause this season. I was like, wait a second. So he really does care about Christina, which that was never really a question, but it does make him look like he has somewhat of a conscience, and he's trying to clear the streets just so he can live amongst these people and do his own thing also. So obviously it's about the money as well, but yeah, the fact that he was willing to take the fall at the end kind of shocked me, because I didn't really expect him to want to sacrifice everything that he had worked up, to until this point.
Well, I also didn't expect Harley to persuade him not to do it. I thought she would be kind of more supportive of him taking the fall, honestly, because then maybe it could be over for all of them if he just surrendered.
Well, she has kind of said the whole season that it's his fault they're in this position.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, but they kind of played a game of cat and mouse over who would end up taking the fall, because he wanted to take it to save the crew. She was going to take it because she was the mole, and kind of rightfully so. She's the one who kind of got everyone into this position. But we see him say something very interesting to her. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
On the phone?
Yeah.
Which part?
I wonder if anyone at home, where he says, I don't want to lose another daughter.
Oh, yeah.
So we kind of see, and it looks like he's using her throughout the season in different ways, and he has this relationship with her, and it's kind of strange in some ways, but this moment was when I realized, I'm like, this is a real person to him. Unlike other people in the crew who he's kind of gathered along the way, he really is trying to secure her well-being to be with Christina, and it was just a very interesting exchange, very raw, the way that they were talking to each other.
Yeah.
And wow, he probably feels like he couldn't do right by his own daughter, so eventually down the line, now that he has the choice to sacrifice himself or her, he's going to switch the roles. And that's good, because that does show that once again he's learning somewhat from his mistakes. Not that he's a perfect person, because he's far from it, but he is trying to do the right thing, maybe at this point. But I still think that he might be pulling some shots from the prison cell next season.
Now, Miaira, did you think, so after we see them kind of talking about this, we see the cops coming in. So one of the last shots is the cops coming in during this exchange on the phone, and Waz asking, well, unless you know something on this Fed, I'm kind of SOL. And this is something we've all been up in arms about. Like, why are you not using this information, Harley? What did you think of that?
I think she has to pull out all her cards right now. She has no choice if she wants to save Waz. And, he's been there for her for a long time, and for Christina. So it's only right, I think, at this point to help him at least a little bit. So I think she's probably giving him some kind of information on his obsession with her and the prostitutes and all of that, the craziness that's built up through the season that they could package together and use against him eventually. Maybe not exactly at that point, because, cops are pointing guns, and it's not like he can just say, hey, wait, Stahl's crazy, so later on he'll probably reveal that in a very strategic manner. I think they'll work it together and get him out of the situation, I hope.
Yeah, that would be very interesting, actually, a good twist to see whatever leverage she has with the information that she's obtained throughout this entire season. Because she's kind of got a lot of dirt on others as well, so she could kind of switch the situation if she plays her cards right.
So actually, the end of the episode didn't give us a whole lot. Like we said, it may be teeing us up for next season and picking up right where we left off, but it was a really good finale. It just didn't kind of finish off, we don't know what's happening with Waz. We really don't know what's happening with Harley because she kind of takes a bath, kills Miguel, and then
Linklater too, where
that's
his
that.
ladder,
We
He can
still
come
know.
back and ruin everything.
Okay, we
honestly.
really only have 5 minutes left, but we have to talk about this. Casper Smart
yes,
making an appearance. It was so good.
Shout out
It
to
was
Casper.
good.
He's so cute.
A little like subtle appearance, but
Yeah.
he played the role really well, and against Ray Liotta, who obviously is such a great
right,
actor,
a veteran, yep.
and held his own. He was
did.
kind of just what would
Kind
you
of like
say?
a drug dealer,
He was-
but not really.
goon.
He was
like a
linked to
middleman.
Linklater.
Yeah.
So
Middleman.
we don't know really what he is. We don't know where Linklater is at this point. They say he's
Yeah.
out of the country. So there are a few things that next season they'll address. They did a good job at giving us enough to wrap this season up,
Right.
but also enough to keep us
Hooked.
tuned in
Yeah.
for next season.
Right.
And I don't know when it has been secured for season 2. We don't know when it's starting, but hopefully we'll all be back with you guys to recap it, because the first season, a little rocky in some points, but ended on a really high note.
Yes.
Definitely.
And you know, Waz was definitely playing a huge role into that. But, you know, Ray Liotta, Waz's character, he gave some really interesting behind the scenes stuff on his Instagram. So let's get into a little news and gossip.
Yes.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So Ray Liotta was taking over the Shades of Blue Instagram, and he also shared a little bit of behind the scenes footage on his own. He took to Instagram sharing scenes from the show, which you can see right there, which is the famous car accident in the middle of the heist. And he was writing on his official page, "Today I'm showing off some photos behind the scenes of NBC Shades of Blue. Here's a pic of me doing publicity as well." And he basically said, "I love letting people know about the show because I'm proud of it, but I'm not a big fan of getting my picture taken." Obviously, he's a very confused actor, he says, which he also shared that other snap of him on set right there getting into character. So very cool to see a little behind the scenes,
That is
especially
cool.
with
I like
the
that.
final picture at the end.
One of my favorite things about being in entertainment, once you've been here for a little while, things
Right.
get a little less exciting
Yeah.
when you have to go to something for entertainment. But behind the scenes, anytime you can learn something about what someone's doing and
Yeah.
what other roles they play, for a huge actor like that to still want to go out and do press and
Yep.
and promote the show, a lot of actors, I don't know if you've noticed this, but they don't do the circuit
Oh, yeah.
to promote. After a certain point, it's like, I'm doing it for the paycheck, but I don't believe in
Yeah, I
it.
want the
Right.
anonymity.
So for him to go out and say, look, this is a product I'm proud of, and
Right.
I'm going to put my name on it, I think that says a lot for Shades of Blue and the
Mm-hmm.
executive producers and everyone on the show. So I think that's great that he's going out and doing that. But
So true.
Absolutely.
They should be so proud because it turned out excellent. So secondly, of course, the star of the show, Jennifer Lopez, stopped by for a memorable time on Carpool Karaoke with James Corden. It was really hilarious. You guys have got to check it out. It's on YouTube. They were singing big songs from her, Love Don't Cost a Thing, Booty, and On the
Yes.
Floor, which she goes in. She fully just belts it, and so does he, and they're doing the full thing. Even cars are pulling up and recognizing her, but she doesn't care. She's J-Lo. And of course, you know, James Corden took advantage of the moment where he has her cell phone in front of him, and he wants to check out what famous people she's got on that roster.
and
of
this is
course.
always so interesting to me because sometimes we'll have people, or like
Right.
even my boss's phone, like
Yeah.
sometimes when he says he has someone's number, I'm like, that is so weird to think
Yeah.
about that you guys
Right,
just
like,
like have
they're
each other's
real
numbers.
people with real
right.
numbers.
Right.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
so true. So some of the people included Demi Lovato, Bradley Cooper, The Rock, Cristiano Ronaldo, Fergie, Iggy Azalea, and of course Revenant actor Leonardo DiCaprio, which
Leo.
of course James decided to text the famous Oscar winner and said, "Hey baby, I'm kind of feeling like I need to cut loose," pretending to be J-Lo, of course. "Any suggestions? Let me know. J-Lo, you know, from the block." That's how
I love
he signed
that. That's
it.
my favorite part.
And of course, he actually responded kind of quick. So I'm like, okay, they cool like that. And he says, "You mean tonight, boo boo, club wise?" So they
so
have a
funny.
baby boo boo kind of relationship,
I really
which
wonder.
is very
Of course,
awesome.
I'm like, you know, I'm thinking from the back, and I'm like, oh, was this produced? How did
Yeah.
did he really respond that quickly?
Premeditated
I know.
Was he looking at his
response.
phone? But I love that. I think it's so freaking funny.
It
If he
is.
really did respond, and that's what he came back with, that's pretty good. But
Exactly.
I would have kept scrolling. Like I would have looked for Jane Fonda for Monster-in-Law. I would have texted her. She likes to have a good
All the
time.
way down the list.
She has dance parties at her house. Think about all the people she has in her phone.
Oh, yes.
Crazy, I know. I feel like Leo did say that. I think he's about that life for sure.
Oh yeah, he,
I
Yeah.
could text back Jennifer Lopez real quick. No 3-hour waiting room.
I bet he knows how to cut loose based on what we've seen. But let's make a couple bets on what we think is going to happen in season 2. Let's get into some predictions.
Season. All right.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV
Oh boy.
I'm excited for season 2. I really am.
I am too. I hope it starts soon. And not
Okay, you
forever
go
from
first
now.
then.
Okay, well, I'm going to say I feel like Christina's not going to believe Harley about Miguel's fate. I feel like she might be skeptical as to why he's suddenly dead, and that might be sad. But hey, who knows? Maybe she'll trust her again. As far as that, I think Linklater is going to come back and ruin everything because he can identify Waz and Harley and all of their faces. So if he decides to, leak those photos that he has or anything else, they're all going to go down at the end of the day. And I think they're going to use Stahl's obsession against him to get out of this situation. So those are my 3
What about
points.
you, Samantha?
I totally agree. I definitely think that we're going to hear more from Linklater next season. He's going to come back, start a ruckus again. I also think that Stahl is going to be looking for clues everywhere about Waz and kind of his whole crew. So I think that they are going to infiltrate and find a little something in Raul's house eventually. I'm not sure episode 1 through 6, but down the line, I'm feeling like that's going to come into play. I also think that Christina's grandma is going to be suspicious about Miguel's death since it was so sudden and since they had that kind of volatile reaction and interaction actually before. So I'm seeing all of those things come into play, and I think Waz may be behind bars, but I don't think that that's the end of him. And if he does, end up there, that he's still going to be a power player.
I think that Harley is going to use the $200,000 as the reason why Miguel has gone MIA.
Oh,
That he took the money
okay.
and ran.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm seeing that, yeah.
I think
Yeah, right?
I think that Waz will be in protective custody. I don't think he'll be in jail. And I think that Gail's going to come in. I think that the conversation Harley had with Gail in this season is going to come back to bite her in the ass because she was kind of avoiding what real issues there may be with Stahl. I also think that we're going to see more of ADA Nava and Harley in a relationship. And I really hope that we see, I know we didn't want Loman to live, but I really hope we see more of Loman in a lead role for this next season.
Yeah.
And more Joe, goddammit.
Joe, where you at?
I
Joe,
really
are
do. If we're gonna get a little peek of him, bring him in. Come on, we can't have these.
We don't want a slice of
We can't
bread.
have
We want
these
the whole loaf.
few appearances.
Yeah.
We need part of the crew.
That Joe's a tease.
But no one will know. I don't know if they're going to do a full year or if they're going to introduce this new season out. This one was so successful soon. I wish they would do it sooner rather than later so we can all get back together.
Yes.
Last episode.
I know. It's a momentous occasion, people.
I know.
Soak it in, folks.
Too bad Erica J. Green couldn't be here. But don't forget, you guys can catch up on every recap show that we've done, episode 1 through 13, the finale tonight, on YouTube. Download it on iTunes. Don't forget to rate, subscribe. We may come back for the next season, all of us here together. So any feedback you have would be greatly appreciated. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We had so much fun this season recapping with you. Don't forget to leave comments for this episode because we'll still be checking them out. Again, I'm your host, Brandon Marlo. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BAMARLO.
I'm Miaira Jennings. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings. Thanks, guys.
And once again, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.
Happy birthday, Erica J, by the way.
Happy birthday!
Erica J on all social media.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.